Welcome back to the Aha Moments. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you have had a great weekend. Many of us had a holiday towards the end of last week, so I hope that influenced you in having a great weekend. I also hope you're super excited to start this new week. I'm super excited because with a new week comes a new topic, and we're going to be talking about how to create lasting and profound change in your life. I'm going to share the biggest change that I had happen in my life and the impact it has had, and I'm excited to share it with you. So thanks for being here. Change is something that we all want to have on some level, but sometimes struggle to achieve, and I'm going to break that down for you here today. So thank you so much for being here. Welcome back to the Aha Moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. Of course, I'm your host, Elliott Connie. And the biggest change that I made in my life was becoming educated. The biggest change I made in my life was getting a college degree. Now, that's a big change, but I think I want you to focus on the mindset shift I had to make in order to get that college degree. Because I had to start thinking of myself differently. I wasn't a very good student. I spent most of my childhood depressed, anxious, and getting abused. Grades were never really important to me, and the best way I can sum it up is I never really tried to get great grades because I was so scared in my house. The only function grades played in my life was to determine whether or not I would be in trouble. I never really was like, I'm going to get good grades because I want to be a such and such. I did get into college because I was a very good baseball player. And at some point I had to realize baseball is probably not going to be in my future. I'm probably not going to be a professional baseball player making, jillions and jillions of dollars. I need to figure out how to make this matter to me on such a level that I'm able to live a life based upon this. And that mindset shift was the profound change. Like, I could remember thinking, doesn't matter that I came from an abusive background, doesn't matter that I'm depressed, doesn't matter that I'm anxious. I've got to figure out a way to get good enough grades that I can graduate because I want to have a college degree. And I remember the next semester, studying was different. Immediately, I was studying. Just the fact that I was actually studying, I was in my home with the television off, studying the subject matter of the courses I was taking. At the time, I was a very average student, but now I'm I'm going to put forth effort because I don't want to come to college, play baseball, not become a professional baseball player, not graduate, and then end up doing something with my life that I didn't want to do. I'm going to try. I'm going to put forth effort. And eventually that mindset shift led to me getting a college degree. And now I sit here and I have a very successful business and working on huge projects out in LA, and I've written books and traveled around the world giving lectures and made friendships and relationships that matter to me all over the world. But I wouldn't have any of it. I wouldn't have none of that stuff would be true or relevant in my life if I didn't shift my mindset and achieve my college degree. And I think sometimes we think about our futures and we don't realize that the little things that we do, like that mindset shift that I had, I believe I was 20 years old when it happened, is going to pay dividends for the rest of your life. I'm literally eating off of the tree that I planted when I was 20 years old, if you will. I hope people understand that the key to creating lasting change is to do small things that matter and that redirect your life, and to accept the redirection. I was disappointed not to become a professional baseball player, but I accepted the redirection and understood in this new direction, a college degree would be helpful. Now, I had no idea it would be as helpful as it ultimately became, but it's literally the one thing that I did that changed my life. And it really impacted everything. So I wanted to share that with you because I want you to see how one decision, one mindset shift can make a difference for the rest of your life. And I wonder, what things have you experienced in your life where kind of one moment or one decision changed your life forever? That's what I want you to think about. So thank you for being here. Please share this podcast on your social media platforms, or even with one person that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. You can also become a subscriber. You can do that by subscribing wherever it is you enjoy listening to podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Simplecast, wherever else you enjoy. You can also become a VIP listener by subscribing on Patreon and getting access to bonus material, including extra episodes and transcriptions from each and every episode. Love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Have a great and super week. I'll see you tomorrow. We often think about the tasks we need to do, like go to the gym or clean the house more often or eating healthier. We talk about like the pragmatics of what we have to do in order to make these changes happen. But what we don't often realize is the step before those pragmatics is oftentimes between your ears. It's a mental change, a mindset shift that you have to make before the big changes happen that impact how you live, that impact what you do, and impact your pursuit of big changes. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome back to the Aha Moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. Of course, I'm your host, Elliott Connie, and I want to talk to you about mindset. When I was in high school, there was a janitor. His name was Jeremiah. We called him Maya. And for being very honest, we weren't nice to Maya. We were young, we were immature, and, he had this job that none of us really respected as teenage kids. But he was always smiling. He was always in a good mood. He was always, he was just always uplifted, if you will. And then when I was a senior, and obviously you're much more towards a senior than you are a freshman, I said, Maya, how come you're always smiling? You're always in a good mood. Like, how come? And he said, because I love working at this school for you kids. And I said, but you don't work for us. Like, you just clean the school. And he said, my job every day isn't really to come to this school and sweep up and clean up. And that's not really my job. He said, my job every day is to come to the school and make sure you kids have a clean learning environment. And I really, really respect coming to this school every day, make sure you kids have a clean learning environment. And I love to do it. I was 17 at the time. And I can remember just as clear as a bell. I remember like it was yesterday. I remember thinking, when I grow up, I want to be like Maya. I want to love what I do as much as he loves what he did. And it was in that moment I realized part of how he loves it is the mentality he has about it. And it was a huge inspiration in my life. And I really did tell myself, like, I want to be him when I grow up. I want to love what I do. And I realized part of loving what you do is choosing to see it through the lens that allows you to love it. When you want to make a significant change in your life, you have to find a way to love it. For example, if I want to wake up every morning at 4 a.m. and work out, if I think, I got to wake up at 4 a.m., I'm not going to love it. I'm not going to do it. It's going to be hard. But if I think to myself, I get to start my day by doing a workout and getting the blood going, that's a very different way of looking at it. I get to start my day by doing this thing that's going to increase the quality of my life. It's going to increase the quality of the life of the people around me. It's going to increase how I feel about myself, and it's going to build my self-esteem. When you think about it in that way, things change. We have to become masters of our minds if we want to accomplish the kinds of change that we need to accomplish in life. I learned that as a 17-year-old high school student, talking to the man whose job it was to make sure that I got to come to school every day and experience a clean learning environment. All of a sudden, describing Jeremiah as a janitor became incomplete, became insufficient, became disrespectful, because it wasn't actually what he was. He was a man who made sure I got to come to school every day to a clean learning environment. I appreciated that lesson then, and I appreciate it now. And that's why I share it with you, because I want you to understand anything you want to accomplish in your life, including change and including making change happen in a sustainable way, you have to find a way to love it and do it and think about it differently. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to think of a personal change you want to accomplish in your life. Maybe it's eating better. Maybe it's You want to finally write that book or clean the house or, organize the garage, whatever it is. And I want you to find a way to think about it that helps you love it and understand it even more. So thank you for being here, everybody. Love you guys. Love you guys. Love you guys. I hope you're excited about this new week, and I hope you've gotten off to a good start. Please help me reach more people by hitting that share button and sharing this podcast on your social media platforms, or even share it with one person that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And don't forget, you can also become a subscriber. You can do that on Apple, Spotify, Simplecast, wherever you enjoy listening to your podcast. You can also become a VIP listener and listen on Patreon, and you'll get access to bonus material, including extra episodes each and every week and transcriptions from each and every episode. Thank you guys. Love you. See you tomorrow. Creating lasting change in our lives can be difficult, even overwhelming. And oftentimes I look for inspiration in my life to do better and be better and accomplish the kind of changes that I like to look forward to. And I consider myself to be one of the most blessed people ever, because I have so many people in my life that inspire me to be great and to do great things. And today I want to talk to you about one person in my life that I've actually never talked to you guys about on this podcast that inspires me. He's an amazing person, and I want to share his story here today. So welcome back to the Aha Moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. So when I became a psychotherapist and I started kind of traveling and lecturing, one of the biggest benefits of that is the people that I would meet. And some of the people I met have done really amazing things, like have written books that have contributed to the world of education and the world of psychotherapy in a really inspirational way. And some of the people I've met have just done remarkable things, traveled around the world, lectured, like world leading research and amazing books and research articles and all that kind of stuff. And oftentimes they come from environments where it's like their parents, world leading researchers and psychotherapists, like they come from environments where it totally makes sense that they're leading the kind of life that they are. But there's just one person that is an exception to this in a real significant way. Like, this person has written books and traveled around the world lecturing and had such a positive impact on so many people. But when you hear his backstory, it's very different than anyone else. And this person's name is Paul Hanton, who I consider to be a dear, dear friend. And when you meet Paul, like when you go to these conferences, everyone's kind of, I would describe it as just kind of like a vanilla environment, right? Like everybody kind of dresses the same and acts the same and talks the same and is the same. But when you meet Paul, he's covered in tattoos. And I mean covered. Like, I've got a few tattoos. I've got 8 tattoos, I think. Paul probably has 800. I mean, he is covered in tattoos. He's a huge fan of Batman. So you'll see like Batman tattoos at multiple points on Paul's body. So once you meet him, you recognize like this guy is different from everybody else in this environment. But when you hear his backstory, it's amazing. Like, Paul in his late teens, early 20s was in the military in Britain, which is where I lived at the time. He got removed from the military and was struggling with drugs. And Paul wouldn't mind me sharing this stuff. He shares it publicly as well. But was involved in drugs to the point where he did some time in prison. And he gets out of prison and decides to change his life. Paul becomes a psychotherapist. He began writing books and leading trainings, and is one of the most respected trainers and psychotherapists in the world. He is also a world-class badminton player, and I know that because he kicked my butt one time in badminton, and I've watched him play. He's a world-class badminton player, and he spends a lot of his time coaching and mentoring young kids in badminton. But Paul's kind of guy, like, he can't just talk to you about badminton. He's going to talk to you about life. Like, he's just an inspirational, amazing man. Now, in the next coming days, week or so, he's going to have his 60th birthday. And I look at Paul sometimes and I'm just like, he is such an inspiration to so many people, including me. He's such a kind but strong man. And I think about like the nearly 60-year-old version of Paul, and I think, what would the 22-year-old Paul that was struggling, getting out of prison, like dealing with all those things, what would that version of Paul think of the Paul he is now? And not like what would he think of him, I guess, but like how surprised would the earlier editions of Paul, the other earlier versions of Paul, think of the way he is now? Because it's a story that when you meet him, it's shocking that he doesn't have the same story that everybody else has, because he has the same outcome. He's written the books, and he's traveled and lectured people, and he's touched lives all over the place, and he has started organizations, he has run organizations, he mentors and touches lives. But there was once a time in his life where he was controlled by drugs. There was once a time in his life that he was about as down as you could possibly be. You know, we call it down bad. Like, he was down bad and decided to change his life. And I share that story for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to inspire you. Number two, I want to give you a real example of how at one point things can be as dark as possible, but you can achieve the highest of highs, as Paul has achieved. But I also want you to know there is always, always hope, even if you cannot see it. So look around your life and look at the people that inspire you. Someone that was once in a down place and have found a way to climb up to the highest of highs. Paul might be the most extreme example of down and then climbing high that I know, but think about other people in your life as well. So thanks for being here, everybody. I hope you enjoyed Paul's story. If you did, please hit that share button and share this podcast on your social media platforms, or with at least one person in your life that you think this story would make a difference for. And also become a subscriber if you haven't done so already. You can do that wherever it is you enjoy listening to your podcast. Apple, Spotify, Simplecast, wherever it is. You can also become a VIP listener by subscribing on Patreon, and you'll get access to bonus episodes each and every week, and you'll get transcriptions from each and every episode. Love you guys so much. Thanks for being here. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Change can be scary. In fact, not only can it be scary, it just is scary. And making changes in our lives that we hope will lead to better places, more success, accomplishing our dreams, or what have you, can be difficult because it is so scary. But today I want to talk to you about what you need to know, what you need to focus on to make change not only not scary, but to get excited about it, to get really enthused about it, and make your biggest dreams and the changes you want to have really positive, long-lasting impacts on your life actually happen. So welcome back to the Aha Moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. Of course, I'm your host, Elliott Connie. And look, over the past couple of years, I've gotten really interested in focusing on success. Like, what is it that makes certain people successful, and what is it that makes other people struggle to achieve success? Like, what is the secret that, like, really successful people know that maybe other people don't know? And I don't mean to define success as like somebody who's rich and famous or whatever, but I just mean, what is it about certain people that are able to accomplish their goals and accomplish their dreams and make the things that they need to have happen, and how come other people struggle to do so? And what I've realized is it's this one simple thing, and I'm going to tell you the absolute truth. Every single successful person I know, at some point, they decided to take a leap of faith. See, one of the reasons that change is so scary is because so many of us don't want to make decisions unless we have certainty that the decision is a good thing. But the problem with that is you can't ever really know. Like, you can't ever really know whether a decision is the best decision. The only way to find out is to make the decision, pursue the goal, and then see what the outcome could be. But that's really scary because so many of us don't want to take a leap unless we know that we're leaping into something wonderful. But the most successful people I know, they took a leap of faith. And they took the leap because they believed in themselves. They took the leap because they believed in what they were doing. They took the leap because they were leaping into their passions and into things they loved. So if you want to make a long-lasting change in your life, the key to that success is to develop the ability to believe in yourself. And you have to have two levels of belief. The first thing you have to believe is that if I work hard enough, I will be able to make this change in my life. I will be able to accomplish these goals in my life. I will be able to sustain these things in my life, and it will have a positive, long-lasting impact on my life. Like, I believe in myself so much that I know that this is true. We have to believe that we are capable. The successful people in this world believe that they are capable. Like, think about like Michael Jordan. Do you think he ever took a shot thinking he would miss? No, he believed that he could do it. That's the first thing, is developing the ability to believe in yourself. That self-belief will carry you further than you could ever possibly know. I want you to be so dedicated to believing in yourself that you literally become allergic to doubt and self-doubt. The second level of belief you have to have is, if I happen to fall, I have the confidence that I can get back up and keep going. That's really important because every pathway towards success has some hurdles and some obstacles in it. But you have to know that if I stumble, if I falter, if I fall, it does not lead to failure as a finality. It just means I have to pick myself back up and keep going. I don't know anyone who's accomplished success that did not have to deal with some bit of failure. It's just a part of the process. You know, I think of a good friend of mine, her name is Tiffany Haddish, really successful comedian and actress. And I was talking to her about her career. And she is now one of the biggest comedians and actresses in the world. But the way her career started was she was auditioning for a comedy showcase. That was like the big breakout for comedians at that time. And it happened once a year. And it took her 7 years to get into the comedy showcase. 6 times she auditioned and failed. But she picked herself back up each time and auditioned again and again and again until she made it into the showcase, and it completely changed her life and her career. Think about that. If you have the belief in yourself that if I keep working hard, we will make good things happen, but if I falter, I can pick myself back up and keep going, you literally become unstoppable. Nothing is outside of your capability. That's what I want you to be thinking about yourself, because that's who you are. So as you think about making changes in your life, as you think about making long-term changes that have a positive impact on your life, remember, you got to believe in yourself that I can do great things. And you also have to believe that should I falter, I can pick myself up and keep going. That is the truth. That is who you are. And that's how I want you to think of yourself going forward. I love you guys, and I want you to really get this into your spirit and into your soul. Because once you think of yourself this way, you become literally unstoppable. So thank you for being here. If this message impacted you positively in any way, please hit the share button and share this podcast on your social media platforms, or even share it with one person in your life that you think could benefit from hearing what I've had to say today. And also, don't forget to become a subscriber. You can do that at Apple Podcasts, Simplecast, Spotify, wherever it is you enjoy listening to podcasts. You can also become a VIP listener by subscribing on Patreon, and you get access to bonus material, including extra episodes each and every week and transcriptions from each and every episode. Thanks for being here today. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. Having so many conversations about change and positive change and trying to create lasting change, it's made me think about the changes that I'm working on in my life. It's made me think about the things that I'm trying to achieve and have been trying to achieve in my life. So I thought today I could share with you what I'm trying to achieve and why it matters so much to me. So welcome back to the Aha Moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. Of course, I'm your host, Elliott Connie. And you know, the biggest change that I'm working on in my life is creating a more equitable racial experience in the field of psychotherapy. I remember being in graduate school. When you're in graduate school studying psychotherapy, you have to read about different psychotherapy approaches. Most people are familiar with like the Sigmund Freuds and the Carl Jungs, you know. There are literally like dozens, even hundreds of kind of pioneers in the psychotherapy field. And when I was in graduate school, I noticed that not one of them, like literally not a single one, zero, were African American or people of color. The history of this field was predominantly dominated by white men, European men. In the 80s, there were some women that became prominent. Virginia Satir is a name that people would recognize. Another woman named Insu Kimberg is a name that people would recognize. And those names we kind of studied in books. But literally, not one person of color, not one African American contributed to the field of psychotherapy if you were looking at these books. And I remember thinking, like while I was in graduate school, so either African Americans aren't contributing, which I actually didn't think was likely, or African Americans are contributing and their voices weren't being heard. I wanted to change that. Like, representation matters, and it matters a great deal. Because the more people see themselves in a success, then the more it will inspire other people to follow suit and go down that path. And there I am in graduate school realizing I cannot find anyone that looks like me in any of these textbooks. I cannot find anybody that looks like me in any of the history of this field. And it made me feel horrible. Like, it made me feel like we're either not contributing or our contributions aren't being heard. And I wanted to work at that. I wanted to change that. 1 year out of graduate school felt like one of the best ways to contribute to this field is to write a book. 1 year out of graduate school, I start working on a book, and everyone told me, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. But it was so important to me to make a contribution to this field and to make sure people heard it, that the biggest long-lasting change that I wanted to accomplish was that. And I wanted that change to last like longer than my life. Like, books live forever. I wanted that change to last going forward. And now, 10 years later, I'm both really, really proud of that contribution because I've now written multiple books and I've done keynotes all around the world and have made a significant and unignorable contribution to the field of psychotherapy. But there's also a lot more to go. Like, there's a lot more work that needs to be done. So it's something that continues to drive me because, like, we can't make psychological decisions and we can't exist as a field of psychotherapy without recognizing that we have to represent and do research upon the entire breadth of the human experience, not just affluent white men or the European experience. One of the ways to address Black mental health, which is a problem, is to show more Black people doing mental health services and show it on a larger scale. People often talk about, like, the Black community does not go to psychotherapy, and that's true. And part of the reason that's true is because they don't see a lot of people that look like them providing the services. Not that they're not there, but they're not being heard to the same degree as others are. And I wanted to change that, like, flat out. Like, the biggest impact I wanted to have was that. And it still drives me to this day. I work at it to this day because I care about people's mental health, all people's mental health. And the community from which I belong and came from is a huge priority to me to make changes happen. So that's the biggest change that I'm working on. I have been working on for a long time, made a ton of progress, but we got a ton more to go. What is something you're working on that you're hoping to change in your life? I'd love to hear about it. Like, leave a comment. Like, I'm honestly, like, it's a real question. What are the things that you're working on that you want to make a change in? So thank you for being here so much. Like, I love you guys for being here. If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit that share button and share it on the social media platforms, or even share it with one person in your life that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And don't forget to become a subscriber. You can do that anywhere you enjoy listening to your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Simplecast, wherever. You can also become a VIP listener by going to Patreon and becoming a subscriber there. VIP listeners get access to bonus material, including extra episodes each week and transcriptions from each and every episode. Thanks for being here. Have a great weekend, and I cannot wait to see you on Monday.